Welcome to heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. As always, I'm your enthusiastic, excited host, Mike Chisholm. So excited to be here. So excited for the things going on in the world of He Changed It. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, go to search He Changed It in your favorite app store and you will find it. We have an amazing guest today. I'm very excited to have Ashley on today because I ran into Ashley Sanderson when I was scrolling through social media, and this unbelievably powerful video came across my feed, and it was Ashley talking to camera, and she was talking about domestic violence, but she was talking about male domestic violence, and it just absolutely flabbergasted me. And of course, if you are a regular listener or patron of He Changed It, you understand why that might have made my eyebrows raise a little bit. And so I started looking into Ashley and what she's doing and what she's building, and she has this brand it's called Challenge the Mirror. And it's not, it's for everybody. It's not a male thing. It's not a female thing. It's for everybody. And just, we became fast friends. And I said, listen, I would really like to have you on heCast because, the point of view that you have is one that I don't think gets enough play these days in the current culture that we're living in. So she readily agreed, and we're finally able to make it happen. So Ashley Sanderson, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be part of heCast today. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an amazing opportunity, and I love what you guys are doing so much, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate hearing that, as always, whenever somebody says that to us. Let's go back a little bit. You're kind of one of those gals who you've got a career in hair, makeup, aesthetics, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've also been a lifelong learner, and you have become a Jane of all trades. I don't know if that, when it comes to personal development, when it comes to all sorts of stuff, what's made you start Challenge the Mirror, and what is Challenge the Mirror? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So Challenge the Mirror would be for anyone that's struggling with seeing the version of themselves in the mirror that they want to see. It's for the people that are maybe not speaking so kindly to themselves. It's trying to understand that what we see in the mirror has a direct correlation with what's actually going on inside of us, and a lot less to do with the exterior of the body. And so it's tapping into that and realizing that our childhood and all of our past and traumas make up for how we feel about ourselves. And it's exposing all of that so that we can appreciate and love what we see in the mirror.
That very much speaks to me, because as the founders of He Changed It were going and doing their discovery, one of the major pain points, in fact, in many categories, the top pain point for men these days is body image. Yeah. And it's not something that I would necessarily think is the case. And I think I've mentioned this on previous podcasts. It's not the one that kind of comes out right away. When I tell you that there's a lot of guys out there that are silently having the body image crisis going on inside their head, does that surprise you?
No, because I truly do believe that there's not much of a difference other than the exterior of a woman and a man. They have the same hearts. They have the same souls. Of course, they're still going to have all of that going on. They have feelings. You know, they see all the stuff on the social media that women do as well. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I think it's something that we don't talk about as much.
Of course.
And with Challenge the Mirror, I've seen you do different events, one catered for the same type of event, but you have it sectioned off where you have it for men, and then you also have it for women. Talk a little bit about that, and talk about the difference between the two in the reactions to it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, my bringing sexy back.
Bringing sexy back.
Yeah.
Okay, so what exactly is bringing sexy back?
So bringing sexy back, I didn't really realize that there's a ton of people out there that don't feel sexy every day. I think I was able to tap into that at a younger age because I kind of knew what sexiness was. because to me, there's nothing sexual about our sexuality, and it's about being free in that.
What does that mean? There's nothing sexual about our sexuality. Talk about that.
Because a lot of people think that our sexuality is, I don't know, quote unquote, bad or a forbidden thing, or, you know, it's very hidden under the rug and something that you do privately in a bedroom with your partner.
Right.
And society has kind of made it be closed in a little box.
A lot of stigmas, a lot of things.
A lot of stigma.
Yeah.
Like you can even look at religions in the Bible and the Virgin Mary who had a baby, even though she was a virgin, that
Right.
sort of deal.
Okay.
So I'm trying to teach people that there's nothing sexual about our sexuality. That way they don't feel bad for exploring it.
A lot of shame associated with
A lot of
with
shame
it.
and guilt. And
Right.
so that's what it basically was, is to me, sexy is self-love on steroids. And it's also being guilt and shame free around our sexuality.
And that's that freedom you were talking about.
And the freedom. And then realizing that we're a multi-orgasmic being. So we have orgasms all over, but we have been so focused on our genitals that
Right.
that's all we think where it comes from. So I'm helping people explore the idea that it's just far more than that.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot.
Is that different? So you're helping people explore that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're helping men and women with that.
Yes.
Is it different?
Yes.
And is it very different? Like, this is where it's one of those things where, yes, men are truly from Mars, women are truly from Venus. They're very different creatures.
When it comes to our sexuality, yes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, women are the feelers. Men are more logical, more visual, that sort of deal. And obviously there's the testosterone involved as well, too. But also what I wanted to mainly separate it, because you know, for men to be free in their sexuality, they have to be tapped into their hearts. And so for many, many years, they've been focused away from their hearts so they could fight wars and, you know, do all that sort of thing. So they've been pushed away from feeling in their hearts. And part of, you know, becoming a sexual being and comfortable in that would be living from your heart. So it was a lot more of focusing on meditation and getting connected to the heart. And then women, you know, their throat chakras have been closed. They haven't been able to vocalize or speak on their wants and needs for a very long time.
Okay.
And so it's about opening their throats and learning for them to step in their power and speak what they want.
So it's a push down kind of a thing for women. For men, it's almost an introduction to it themselves. Like, do you find that there's a lot of men who, like, is it a whole new world for them? Like, is it concepts or things that they've never even thought about? Like, is that what it's like?
Well, I think so. Yeah. And I think, you know, society has really pushed down what it means to be a sexual being, especially with all the pornography. And the pornography has definitely been directed towards men. And right now there's a huge uprise of men in their 20s and 30s that are like have to use Viagra in order to have sex. And so that's really why I started focusing on that for men as well, too, because I couldn't believe that, because there's no reason to be like that unless you have been staring at a screen and thinking that that's what sex is.
Right.
Because that is the opposite of what sex is. Pornography is acting. Those are actors.
I think about, you know, when it comes to pornography and how different it is from when, I'm at the age where half of my life I can remember before the internet, and then the other half happened after the internet. And, you know, stark changes. Like for me, pornography when I was growing up was, hey, some kids took some of their dad's Playboys and hid them in the woods somewhere. And you'd go and see, you know, an image of a naked lady. It wasn't anything like, you know, the fire hose, the torrent of, you know, no pun intended, in the torrent world of what's available now. Basically, you know, anybody at any age can see anything. And the effect that it's having, people are thinking that that's what sex is.
Yeah.
And that's got to be really challenging for some of the people who are going through their teenage years, having that full access to that fire hose. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, no wonder they would have to take Viagra. How could they think when, you know, they were in the position to have sex with someone that they had to tap into or display what that person was on pornography? That would be not possible.
And this is something that you help people with. You help people
Yeah.
kind of unlock some of these locks that have happened, or these barriers. You help clear them away,
Yeah.
and you help people kind of tap into who they really are inside. And for men, meditation is one of those things that you take them through.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it could be weird at first for a lot of men that have never done it. But really, I think the most helpful thing is breathing into the heart, putting your left hand over top of your heart, breathing in, connecting with yourself, and feeling all the things that you need to feel. And also another thing that really helps men is journaling. A lot of men don't do a ton of journaling, but that is one of the biggest ways to release, any emotions or any traumas in the past, without actually seeing a counselor. How you can heal yourself is a lot through journaling as well, too.
And if somebody were to reach out to you, through the challenge of the mirror, social media is the best place to do it, right?
Yeah.
Is this the kind of thing that you would help people do? Like, you would introduce them to that? Like, I mean, I journal now. And I mean, I do, quote unquote, the male version of journaling. Like, I have a grateful journal that I literally, it's very, very structured. I imagine that the journaling that you would teach people how to do is a little more free form than that.
Yeah. Usually when someone reaches out to me, I send them a series of questions. I just want to learn a little bit about their childhood. What was their relationship like with their mom, with their dad? What are your past traumas? Is there something you need to forgive yourself for? Is there something you need to forgive others for? And then all of a sudden that just starts bringing up a whole ton of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then from right then and there, we can dive into, what is not making them feel worthy, because that's all it is. It's like we're trying to get to the spot in our life where we feel absolutely worthy. And, all these little things that happened to us as a child or in our past or recent past makes us see that we're not worthy for some reason. But it's about understanding where you were at in that time frame of your life.
Okay. Having done this process with men and having done this process with women,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I'm putting you on the spot here, but if there was one thing that you would want the women to know about the men and one thing that you'd want the men to know about the women, what would those be?
So women are the feelers of the world. And like I said before, men are very logic. And so I'll just give an example.
Sure.
So say you're in a relationship.
Yep.
And a fight happened, and the women, they want to talk it out. They want to feel it out right away. And then the man just kind of shuts down because he needs time. He needs time to step away, to logically think about what happened so he can figure out in his own mind. It's not that he's trying to be rude. It's not that he's ignoring you. He needs to figure out for himself what just happened in that situation so he can come back with a clear perspective. So there's that. And then also on the other side, if more sexually, women need to be seen. They need to be respected. They need to be heard. Men are more visual, so they need to be seen in order to thrive in their sexuality. So it's a really, there can't be too much jealousy and insecurities in the relationship when it comes to sexuality, because men need that stigma that they are seen by other women.
Okay. So men want to be seen.
Men want to be
because
seen.
They're seers.
Exactly.
Okay. So they perceive sex maybe more visually. And so they think about sex and receiving sex more visually as well. Interesting.
Yeah. And so I had to really, one of my biggest things that I had to overcome was jealousy and insecurities. And then the more I started, learning about that, the more I started learning about sexuality, and I started learning about what men actually need and what women actually need. And it's quite different. But at the end of the day, we have the same hearts, we have the same souls. And so men will hurt the same way as women hurt. Mm-hmm. But it's just in more of a logical way than not. But at the
it's
same
the perception
time,
of that hurt and what they do with it.
Exactly. And so at the end of the day, they're both souls. And so, both you need to treat with the same respect. Yeah.
What are some techniques for people? We'd go back to body image for a second here. Mm-hmm. Some techniques for people who have insecurities with their bodies. They're not comfortable in the skin that they're in. And I mean, there's a whole variety of reasons why that might be. Like you said, scrolling through social media, what the world has told us is beautiful, can make, I can't think of a person that wouldn't be intimidated when given the idea of what the world thinks is beauty and what's kind of thrust upon us as a culture. Are there any techniques that you might want to share with our viewers or listeners of things that people can do to kind of make them feel a little more comfortable in their own skin?
Yes, of course. Mirror work is the best thing you can
Literal mirror work.
Yeah, mirror work. Okay. It's the best thing you can do. But mirror mantras are a really good way. I have a little decal that I give people. The way you speak to yourself matters.
Yep.
So it's literally stopping that chatter in the back of your mind where you are picking yourself apart. It's being able to control that, but it's also being able to, I call it mirror gazing. So if you've never mirror gazed before, you connect with yourself in the mirror in your eyes. And it's about 5 minutes that actually a wave comes over you and you start to connect with yourself.
So you stare at yourself in the mirror for 5 minutes?
Yeah, I know. It seems like a lot. And not a lot
Blinking's
of
okay? Like
you're allowed to blink. Yeah.
Is it like one of those 3D pictures where you kind of let your eyes relax as you're looking into your eyes? Or how does it, like, you just sit there comfortably and just...
Yeah. And it might not take 5 minutes. Sometimes it can take 3. Sometimes it can take 10. But usually what will start to happen is you'll usually break down and start to cry if you've never looked at yourself, because you can finally see yourself for the first time in your life and who you are and as a soul, and just forget about everything on the outside and connect with yourself on a deeper level. So there's a lot of emotional stuff that will come up. A lot of people tell me when they do it, they do cry a lot because they're finally seeing themselves for the first time and with connecting with themselves in their eyes instead of on their whole body.
And this is men and women who break down crying. It's okay to cry.
It's okay to cry. You gotta cry.
Ashley said it first, guys. Come on. It's okay to cry.
If you don't cry, you'll explode. That's where anger comes from. And, the biggest emotional thing that we see with men oftentimes is anger.
Right.
And anger is, a really powerful emotion. But a lot of the time, it's just because all this energy is trapped inside of us, because emotions are energy in motion. And when we don't allow energy to move through us, then they're trapped inside of our body. And so what happens is you get anger and you get explosive because anger needs to explode out. So you have to feel, you have to cry. There's no difference between a man's tears and a woman's tears. Right. It helps release stress hormone, cortisol. And so it's something that needs to happen. Yeah.
That's the idea that a very simple process, looking at yourself in the mirror for 5 minutes or so. And you say, like, you'll start to feel it, like a wave will kind of hit you. And
yeah, it's almost like, and whatever you believe, but it's almost like you're like, whoa, I am an alien. You have this like weird connection that you've never had before. And then there's a whole ton of different mirror work, really, but it's about giving love to the body parts that you've been shaming the most. So apologizing, whether it be your stomach, you stand in the mirror and first you apologize and then you give your thanks. Thank you so much for always digesting my food, the simple things, just getting back to appreciation and gratitude for those body parts. Whether it be your arm or whatever. And, I help people a lot with skin stimulation. So that would be like giving yourself soft, sensual touches and massages and just giving yourself love. But mainly when it comes to body image, it's about giving those body parts love that they haven't had because you've been shaming them for so long. And then it didn't matter if you lose weight or not, you would continuously be looking at those body parts and shaming them. That's why there's body dysmorphia and all that sort of stuff, right? It's because you can't snap out of it because you're still in that lack of.
Well, and I mean, bodybuilders have that. Yeah. And they it doesn't matter how often they work out and how big their arms or their chest gets, whatever that is, it's never good enough. Yeah. It's never good enough because they've got, and I mean, there's this, it's so funny how many times the spiritual, but also the logical reflect on each other properly. Like what you're doing is also talking about subconscious pathways. Like if you've built up all these subconscious pathways that, oh, I don't like my gut. I don't like my gut. I don't like my gut. What's going to end up happening? Even if I lose weight, those subconscious thoughts will keep coming back because that's what I've programmed in the background.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is reprogramming yourself.
Yeah.
And using all sorts of different techniques to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's just energy. Our whole human existence is based on intention and intent. And so if you're going to continuously put something on your body, thoughts are energy.
Yep.
Our voice is energy.
Yeah.
And so when you're directing your energy towards something, it's going to stay stuck in there unless you allow it to move, unless you shine light on it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating stuff. I highly encourage anyone out there who this is resonating for to reach out to Ashley. And we'll talk about, Challenge the Mirror on Facebook and Instagram, right? And please reach out and do that. Now, I want to talk about the video. Okay. I want to talk about it because I was blown away when I saw this video of you. And it was you, I believe you were in front of a fireplace.
Yeah.
And you were talking direct to camera and you were apologizing maybe it wasn't apology, I think, or it was empathy. You were conveying massive empathy. And if you watch this video, it's this gal who is just looking into the camera and you can feel the emotion coming out of her. And it's empathy for men suffering domestic abuse. And even saying, look, you even did the I don't know if you felt you were betraying the sisterhood or whatever with this, but it was crazy. It's not the narrative that we hear every day.
Yeah.
And you said, even look, I've been hurt, like you personally have been hurt, but you're taking that and you're putting it aside right now because you want to focus on something that has absolutely dramatically flattened you. And that is the hurt of seeing men hurt. And the message was first off, it was so encouraging to me to know that there are women out there who know that. And I just, I can't convey accurately how it made me feel to see that. Like, it was like I was watching this video and I felt like I was in a safe place watching that video. And I don't want you to get, obviously I'm not going to ask you to get as personal as be as comfortable as you need to be. But what caused you to have that awakening? And as I've kind of set the table to that video, would you mind explaining that video a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I've seen it my whole life, growing up. I've seen, whether it be when I was really young at a high school party, someone's girlfriend would be smacking their boyfriend in front of everybody and everybody would be laughing. It was a joke. It was something that's funny because it wasn't looked at as domestic violence. And then I started looking into the statistics of what domestic violence is in men. And I don't even believe those are true, because men have never been given the voice to say that, them being hurt physically by a woman is domestic violence. Yeah. And so I feel like all the statistics out there aren't even really true and valid.
They're nerfed a little bit. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they haven't had the voice to say so. And, I have 2 younger brothers, and I want to make sure that they're growing up in a world that knows that men hurt too. And you can't just physically harm men without them being hurt, because that is not true. Mm-hmm. Men still feel hurt when you physically hurt them.
Yes.
When you mentally abuse them, when you emotionally abuse them. Right. They can't be called all these names and not be affected by it. Even the law, when it comes to men's children's being taken away from them, mm-hmm. that stuff hurts, and that stuff hurts me. And I'm very passionate about it. And I just want, all the women out there to realize too, that no more normalizing treating your partner in a way because just for the sake that you think he's a man and he can handle it.
Right.
And I think that, we've grown up in a society where we think men can just handle things because they're men.
Yes.
And clearly that's not working out. If you see all the statistics out there on suicide with men right now, it's really sad. And, the more I started speaking on men's mental health, the more I had, men reach out to me and want to speak on their podcasts. And, a lot of people in the UK, and the UK right now, their statistics of men's suicide is insane.
Yeah.
And so it just goes to show that men can't survive in this world anymore with the thought and idea that they don't have feelings or that they're strong enough to handle whatever it is.
Well, it's, thank you for that. Yeah. The founders, the two co-founders of He Changed It are women and they're mothers, and they're like, I don't like the world that is going to be handed to our sons. And hearing you speak about this, and the other thing too, that if you ask Candace and Shannon what they would say about that is that it's up to women to be part of the equation as well. And I think we still live in a time where it takes a strong woman to be part of the equation, because it's not the status quo. And also you look at, domestic abuse on the other side of things. And it's real easy for both sides to kind of raise their arms and be combative with each other rather than finding a place of understanding.
Yeah, I think so. And, everyone has a brother, an uncle, a father, a grandfather. We all have those. Mm-hmm. So let's show them the respect that they haven't had yet, because it's just starting, they're just starting to get respect now. Mm-hmm. And I think more than ever, there's a huge platform for mental health for men. Mm-hmm. And I'm super excited to be in the process of that and to see how the world's going to change because of it.
That's He Changed It's whole thing. And I mean, it's funny, the founders being talked to by all these different, tech influencers and tech innovators and tech mentors. And they're talking about how, you're almost a little early. You talk about a business, right? And being at the right place at the right time. And it's funny, they started the discovery for He Changed It 2 years ago. This is before coronavirus COVID-19 showed up. And they were told a lot, hey, this is fantastic. It's revolutionary. It needs to happen. But you're almost a little early, almost like they were saying, the world's not quite ready for this. I think COVID has shone a light because it's created elements of isolation. It's even more, if we're in our silos as men, we're even more in our silos now. Yeah. And like you say, the statistics are starting to really come to light now. I think about that guy, and I think we've all seen it. And again, don't get me wrong. I don't like the guy who goes off on his partner, his wife, his girlfriend, his partner, whatever at all. But I think about the guy that I see sometimes in the supermarket lineup, where he puts something wrong in the cart or something like that. And I see his female partner lay into him and lay a strip off of him. And I see the embarrassment as he kind of looks around, and I see that, that manhood thing that we talk about, that pride that just is instinctually there, whatever it is, for that thousands of years of genetic programming. And I feel for that guy. And it makes me, many times I've wondered, okay, well, if that's what's going on here outside in public, what's going on behind closed doors? And there's a lot of that. And to have a woman so fearlessly come forward and talk about that is really refreshing. And I'm really grateful for you in doing that. So yeah, thank you for that, Ashley. Very, very, very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Of course. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, it is. But you're one of the only ones in many people's world. Some people will listen to this podcast or watch this podcast and I've never seen any woman talk like this before. Has this I made a joke earlier about betraying the sisterhood. Has this stance that you have taken? We live in a cancel culture, an outrage culture where it seems that if you disagree, it can't happen respectfully. It has to happen where people are, going to war with each other. Have you had any pushback from this from anybody that's in your circle?
Not yet, really. I think all my sisters out there know that men need women's voices right now more than ever. And we need to be here to stand up for them. And like I said before, they all have brothers and fathers and grandfathers and cousins. And, I think the true ones that I know understand why I'm doing it, and that I'm doing it for women as well. And women, at least I hope that they know that I respect them dearly, and that they're amazing, and that I'm grateful for them. And, I hope that they just all know that I'm doing it for them as well, too.
How are you doing it for them?
Because they have husbands.
Yeah.
Because they have brothers. Because they have bosses. Because they have coworkers. Because they have human beings, which are men, around them every day, all the time. And because, like I said, if men heal, the whole world heals.
Yes. I can't, normally I'm not at a loss for words when it comes to this, but I'm actually at a loss of words hearing you say that. And again, this feels like, when I watch that video, that safe place, and how many men out there right now need a safe place to be able to express some of these things, things that are probably so deep seated, they don't even know why. They don't even know why they're feeling the way that they're feeling. And like you said, I think, I say this to my wife all the time. I love saying this with what He Changed. I'm proud that He Changed It has 2 female co-founders. And I say, as the feminine power rises, and there's no doubt the feminine power is rising, but I think we're misguided a little bit in thinking that as that happens, I meet women, and no offense to, everybody is the sum of their experiences, right? And a lot of men have treated women shabbily, to say the least. But at the end of the day, when I see, as this feminine power is rising, as I see women going, okay, guys, get in the back seat. The last couple thousand years has been this way. We're time to even up the score, and using the same tactics. For me, it's always that, no. Like, I think that's missing the point. As the feminine power rises, it's so amazing that new solutions are going to come on the table. New solutions from mother, from the nurturer, from the feeler, from things that were never even considered before, which is how we're going to get out of this. That's the way I see it. I don't know. Does that resonate?
Yeah, 100%. As consciousness rises, everyone's going to rise with it. And I think the whole feminist thing that was going on, that war there, that needed to happen for a reason. We needed to push for our rights, absolutely. But it's like an egregore. So it always takes on a dark side, just like as religion started off as something good and egregore happened, it turned a little bit dark, or how these cults turn dark. So sometimes that happens. And so a lot of the time there can be pushback or push against men when it comes to femininity.
Yeah.
But as women's consciousness rises, men will be right there beside us, rising up. No one's going to be left behind unless you don't want to raise your consciousness.
Yeah. And I think that's what I hope that's what the majority of people want to do. Raising our consciousness is such a it's a blanket term, but it's also a very personal term. And we had a guy on a couple weeks back, and his whole business, he has a business called Behold Retreats, and his whole thing is it's a plant medicine thing. And so he books ayahuasca or microdosing with psilocybin, things like that. These trips for people to kind of do this work, to dive into themselves and figure out who they are. And he's building this entire massive business around this. I think there's a hunger. Mm-hmm. I think our society now has this hunger for diving into our consciousness and figuring out who we are, and not what we are, but more what we want to be. I think that there's a hunger that's happening in our society for that.
Yeah, 100%. For the last however many years, it's all just been work on the outside, dress the body up, get the Botox, get the lips, when it comes to men, do the steroids, eat the protein, get the hair plugs, whatever it is. It's just been so focused on that. And the media has took it and just rocketed it off to make people even feel more insecure. And everyone's realizing that, hey, that actually doesn't really make me happy.
Right.
So we're trying to figure out what actually makes us happy. Yeah, the new car is going to make you feel happy, or the new lift in your truck is going to make you feel happy for a little bit. But after that wears off, then you're still not feeling good. And so people have been diving into that and trying to understand why.
Right. Your background is in hair and aesthetics, and I mean you're good at it. You're very, very good at it. If you see some of the I'll call them creations that you've been a part of in the past. Has being in that industry been part of the guide that has brought you on the journey that you have gone on? Like, have you did you go in there thinking one thing and now you're kind of got some years into it and life experience and it's kind of shown you what real, quote unquote beauty is?
Yeah, 100%. I would say that played a massive role in what I'm doing now. And just like having, that human connection multiple times during the day, whether it be 5, 6 people, even more, and understanding that we're all the same and that we're all feeling the same, and realizing that we all speak to ourselves the same in the mirror. At one point in my career, when I first started Challenge the Mirror, I put a curtain over top of the mirror because I got so sick and tired of hearing people say that they look like shit or whatever it was that day, or they had bags under their eyes.
Right.
And so, yeah, it just made me realize that we're all human. No matter what we look like, we all face the same insecurities and the same thoughts and ideas that go on in our head. We don't get to run away from that because we look a certain way.
Right.
Everyone has those things. And so I think it made me realize that, beauty, as much as you want to dress the outside, it's about the inside that counts.
I've been seeing that a lot more. I have seen people who at first glance, the world, quote unquote, if you saw a photograph of this person, okay, they might seem, quote unquote, beautiful. But then when you see how they act, how they look completely changes, and I've seen the most, worldly, beautiful people be the ugliest people that I've ever met. And I've seen the exact opposite of people that would be kind of passed over by, the multi-billion, $trillion business economy that is wrapped around telling people they got to look like what 1% of people look like, who would be passed over by them. And they're the most beautiful people I've ever seen. And I think those are the types of awakenings that maybe we might need to move towards when it comes to these kinds of understandings. You are building an entire model around showing people that beauty and teaching people to look at themselves in a different way. How fulfilling is that to you? Really,
really fulfilling. I have been writing in my journal for years and years and years that my goal is to make people feel good about themselves. And I think at first I thought it was making their hair look good or doing their makeup. And, manifestation happens in crazy ways. So I think the universe brought me to doing Challenge the Mirror so I can actually help people like what they see in the mirror versus pretend that a haircut is going to make them like themselves.
I hear you. What's the thing that, is there anything surprising, or what have you learned through this process that about other people, maybe a common similarity that just kind of keeps coming up that you didn't expect, anything like that? Like, as you've kind of dove into this, what are some things that have stood out to you?
There's a lot of people that don't want help and that don't want to be healed. And a lot of people like living in their suffering. They enjoy it.
Okay.
And it's a lot easier than it is to peel back the layers of yourself and to expose the wounds at first. After you get into it, it's really, really easy to do that. But a lot of people like playing the victim role.
Right.
And I'm not talking about actual victims here that are victims of, not so good things. I'm just saying like the light version.
People who like to
victim.
blame things.
Feeling the lack and putting the blame on others. It's a lot easier to do that. So it can be frustrating sometimes because you do want to help as much as possible. But what I'm learning now too is that listening is a form of communication. And so sometimes people just need to be heard. But yeah, I would say that I keep running into you can't heal everyone. And, a lot of people don't want to be healed. It's a lot easier, to not think about this stuff so intensely.
Let's get caught up and let's start scrolling and see what's, and then that's where that toxic culture, that's when those habits can come from and all of that. It's breaking free of that needs to happen with that introspection.
Yeah.
And you help people with that.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. What's the best way people can get a hold of you?
So I have my website, www.challengethemirror.com. And that has basically everything on there. challengethemirror@gmail.com. My Instagram platform is ashleysanderson.ctm. And then I have my Challenge the Mirror on Facebook as well.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you coming here and scooping out some of what makes you and exposing it for all of us. It really is inspiring to me. I love our personal connection as well. I can't wait to see how this thing grows. And as you grow, we want to help you. And we definitely want to send people your way who are ready to start making these transformative choices. Thank you so much for doing what you do, Ashley.
Yeah. And thank you too. I'm excited to see where you guys go.
Oh, it's going to be great. We're going to move forward together, move upward together. They go by really fast. That was another episode of heCast. Thank you so much for all of the support. Everybody who has shared out He Changed It, everybody who has downloaded the app, signed up, come and say hi, come into the heCast room. I spent a bunch of time in there and enjoy the resources. Please share the podcast, subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Mike Chisholm. I am the host of heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. Go change something.